Out of the 36 million people living in Canada, 38% of the population lives in Ontario. That's almost 14 million people. Although Ontario has almost half of Canada's population, it has the least amount of hospital beds compared to the other provinces. Per 1,000 people, Ontario has 2.34 hospital beds, while the rest of the country has 38% more. For over 10 years, Ontario funding for hospitals has fallen behind to other provinces. Sadly, all of these budget cuts and lack of funding in Ontario hospitals will affect all of us living here. Patient care is affected all over the province due to the lack of budget. Kirby Karanabetter is worried about how bad hospital funding has gotten over the years after he felt its impact 30 years ago when a horrible accident led him to a 6-month stay in the hospital.
When I was 23, I was working in a bank up in the Yukon. I was out with some friends one evening and we decided to go for a midnight swim. So it was April, so the water was a little cold, and when we went to the lake, I decided rather than just go in slowly down this ladder, I decided to dive in just because the water was so cold. And when I dove in, I hit my head on the bottom, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I had essentially broken my neck, but all I knew was I couldn't move. When I was hurt, it was back in 1984, and to be honest, nurses were always busy, even back then. They were always rushing, trying to get their jobs done. So over the years, funding has continued to be cut in hospitals. It's a huge part of every provincial budget.
To major urban centers to fight, to push for real hospital funding increases and real long-term care funding.
We have the shortest lengths of stay of any province, got the fewest number of acute care beds of any province, in fact of any country. The average patient in an Ontario hospital will receive 6 hours less nursing care. You go in to have your baby and it's 24 hours, you're in there, you'll get 6 hours less nursing attention than if you were in Nova Scotia or Alberta. It explains why we have this higher death rate.
They are in a very difficult situation. We haven't had an increase for 5 years. It's only going to get worse. And so there literally is no money. We're already borrowing at a very high rate, and it's just getting worse.
Each one of you is a great militant and a great activist, and we need you, and the people of Ontario need you going forward to help us to defend and save our public health care system.
A couple of years ago, I bought this painting. Here's this individual that's trying to juggle these balls, and these balls to me are the different programs within our hospital operations. And you can see that there's one ball that's red, so that's a deficit ball, and we're constantly trying to juggle these programs and make sure we end up in a balanced position. The current year that we're in was the first year that the ministry basically agreed to provide up to 1% for the hospitals. But at the same time, they had to do what was called a reset in the funding formula. So for Briere, it ended up being that the 1% that we got was basically taken away at the same time. And in natural fact, it took away more than the 1% that we got. It's happening at a time, though, that our population is aging. We know that by 2031, one out of 4 of us will be over 65 years of age, and I believe this is the first year that the number of people over 65 years of age surpass the number of people that were under 18 years of age. I think there's brighter days that are coming forward. We should be receiving, hopefully, increases for cost of living in the future.
The hospitals are there to be there in our time of need and to help bring healing, and it's important that we bring not only physical healing but the ability to go back to our lives. And so my hope for people is that when they come into our hospital, we'll be able to bring a sense of healing to them, but also a sense of rediscovery of who they are and how they can find hope and joy and fullness in life once they leave us.